Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Kate.
We're Perth All Driving Camping. Today we're going to cover a topic that we get heaps of questions about, particularly since we've been living on the road. We'll cover that today in a bit of detail, answer your common questions, but just a little bit about ourselves.
So we're from Perth, WA. Before this lap, we typically did a lot of trips around WA. So if you haven't seen WA before, it's a good way to experience WA and see what WA has to offer. But we're currently on a lap around Australia. So we started in Perth and we're working our way around, all the way around.
We are, yeah, and we have 20 episodes so far that you can catch up on. There's actually a playlist there as well if you want to catch up on our journey to date. But yeah, this video is coming to you 6 months into our lap, believe it or not. So yeah,
it's crazy.
Hard to believe. So our lap is currently up to Victoria on YouTube, so you can watch all those videos, New South Wales to follow. But yeah, we can't wait to continue to share all of that. But we thought we'd drop in a special episode today just to cover off those common questions about the topic of distance learning.
We do get a lot of parents asking us about homeschooling, whether you're a family that's thinking about doing a lap yourself or maybe you already are. But homeschooling or distance learning is such a big concern for parents. How do they navigate that? They're picturing, sitting at desks trying to help kids with maths questions or science questions, whatever it is. And we don't have to do that, do we?
No, it's not that at all. So we'll cover some of those misconceptions, but we'll also run over some of the things we don't like and some of the things we do like about the program that we've selected. Yeah. And as always, if you have any questions, you let us know below in the comments and we'll answer those as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into it. Thanks to the support of our partners, 4x4 Extras Wangara, JB Caravans, TC Boxes, and Petters Suspension and Brakes. Yeah, one of the biggest questions for us back in Perth before deciding to do this is, how are we going to do the schooling? What are the options? We spent a lot of time researching that, didn't we? And
yes.
It was quite challenging.
Yeah, and there was quite a few nights spent looking at all different options and what they involved or didn't involve. Obviously, cost is a big factor as well because there's lots of things you have to absorb along the way. Accommodation, diesel, ad hoc stuff like filling gas bottles, food. Food is a massive one, especially if you're traveling remote because everything's a lot more expensive. Yeah. So there are a lot of things there that do cost a lot along the way. So you want to do something that's not going to be crazy expensive as well, like normal school fees.
Yeah. So for those of you that haven't been following our content, we're a family of 4. We've got 2 kids. We've got a 12-year-old and a soon-to-be 14-year-old. Yeah. So, in those sort of pre-teen and teenage years, school is pretty important at that stage. So it was definitely a lot of discussion for us back in Perth is, how do we make this work? We want to make sure they have a good education and don't fall behind, but also be able to experience this amazing opportunity to travel Australia and all these experiences that, they'll be having for the first time. Just
with the kids, so we're currently year 7 and year 9. So already that eliminates quite a lot of options. A lot of the school options that were recommended to us, a good example, School of the Air, they only cater to primary school. So high school is quite tricky. We found that there's very few options that are available. And also another thing was flexibility. That was really important. We needed something that wasn't going to be fixed 9 to 3 because then we've only got a small window before it gets dark to do sightseeing and stuff like that. So we needed something that could be flexible. Some days we're traveling as well within that window. So we needed something where we could do an hour in the morning or evening or all in one block, depending on the movements day to day or week to week.
We wanted a lap as well that was flexible, gave us the opportunity to take advantage of opportunities. So much of what we've done in the last few months has been, recommendations. We've gone to a state and someone said, oh, hey, check out this area. So, we were hoping to find a school solution that, catered to that flexibility as well.
Yeah, and also as well weather, things can change so rapidly, which we found in New South Wales especially. We can go from having sun like this to in half an hour's time, it is torrential rain. So, just being able to go, right, let's pop out now and, do some sightseeing and know we can and not be like, well, we have to be staying here until 3 o'clock to get the schooling done. Yeah. So we need to take advantage of, those times as well. Yeah. So the school that we have decided to go with is called Australian Christian College Southland. So they're based in WA in Albany. This particular school, Australian Christian College, they are based all over Australia. I'm not sure though which states and if all of the different schools do distance learning, but certainly this particular one does. And the way that they work is they do primary and secondary, so you've got both options there. It is a private school, so it is private school fees. The fees do depend on what year your children are. So per child, for us, for year 7 and year 9, we're looking at $2,500 per year, and you do have the option of paying that upfront, or you can pay it monthly. So, we do have that option as well. Primary school is a lot cheaper, so if you've got primary school children. The benefit with this particular school is that all the classes are pre-recorded and you have access to them, weeks in advance. So if you know that you're going to be staying put for a few days, the kids actually could do all of their schooling in 1 day, 2 days, whatever you want, or do an hour each day, but they do still need to log on and check in for the attendance. They need to do that every day. But the actual coursework can be done 1 or 2 days if you needed to, or if you've got lots of travel days or sightseeing, whatever, you can also catch up or do an hour a day if you want to, which is great. But also as well with the pre-recorded classes, if you've got any children with learning difficulties, it's great because that gives them the opportunity to pause, rewind, watch the whole class again if they need to, make notes and do things in their own time. So we've found that there's been a lot less anxiety with both children doing what they need to do. So when we were looking at school options and which one would be the right fit for us, there was a lot of schools like School for the Air that were heavily paper-based. So that would involve having to, pre-send paperwork to a PO box and knowing we'd be in a particular place at a particular time, but throughout the year, so quite often. So that was something also that we took into consideration. We don't want to carry a printer with us and have to worry about printer ink and paper because that's all additional weight. So this was the bonus of selecting this school, which is Australian Christian College, Southlands, WA, because they're fully online. Also as well, you do have the option for teacher interaction. So if there's something here that you're not sure about, you need to speak to the school, speak to the teacher, you do have access to those facilities as well on email, phone, whatever.
Yeah. So one thing you're going to need to be able to enable distance learning, especially the way that we're doing it off-grid a lot of the time, is a stable internet connection. So we have Starlink Mini on our canopy, so 24 hours we've got internet and we've also got unlimited data. So that's been really, really important. In terms of expectations with the program that our kids are doing, they'll need to do a roll call each morning. So they'll log in on their laptops. They're using actually iPads, our kids, but laptops or iPads, they log in, they sort of register that they're there and they're present. Yeah, and then they'll go on and do their various classes as well. But there is some flexibility with how they do those classes. So they can do more in a day than other days. So that does give you flexibility to be able to sightsee and do the things that we do regularly as part of our travels.
Yeah. Also as well, the school days are a lot more condensed than a typical school day in person, because when you go to school in person, you've got all the breaks in between, you've got all the interruptions in class. So, the learning, the classroom online, you can do your schooling in say 2 hours a day, or you could say let's do 3 or 4 subjects on a Monday, and then you've only got a couple more subjects throughout the week to scatter how you want to if you're doing lots of travel days. So you do have the flexibility of doing it that way, as long as you log in and do your roll call every day.
Yeah. And just like normal school, they have assignments and tests and that kind of stuff. We actually had NAPLAN drop into the mix during our travels as well. So that was a little bit challenging and just getting our head around how it all works. But essentially they had to have their phone on their screen while they were doing it. So essentially they knew that they were both watching it and they weren't using any additional aids to, cheat or whatever. So
answer the questions and stuff. Yeah.
So we had that.
Yeah, so with the assessments, they're Sunday to Sunday, so they have a whole week and they can do them anywhere, anytime. So, and also as well with the distance learning education, this is great for people that are remote as well, that maybe live somewhere in a small town and they don't have enough students to go to a physical school. So this is another alternative, and that's why this school exists really, to cater for those communities. And a lot of their students, will log on between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m, so that's how many hours in a day you could do your schooling if you want to. Or the kids could even log on at 9 p.m. if they wanted to, you do have that option.
There's been a couple of small art things that Max has had to do, where we've had to go to a news agency and get, you know, an A4 piece of paper and, you know, some watercolors and stuff, but pretty minor. Most of it is actually done, you know, online. There's also like some physical activity stuff as well. So he's had to prove that he's been kicking the footy with me and doing stuff like that. Obviously we are pretty active. We've hiked up Mount Kosciuszko and done some amazing things. So the kids are getting out and about, but it's good that they do make sure that they are getting their physical activity as well. Probably some of your key questions around, you know, what we like, what we don't like about the program. So maybe we'll touch on the things that we like, and probably a lot of those we've covered, but probably the first one is the flexibility, right?
That was a big factor for us, and that was incredibly important. So just knowing that we weren't going to be locked in every day 9 to 3.
Yep. And the support that you get through the school is really good as well. So you basically have like a contact for your year that sort of is your guide really. So Max has one and Izzy has one. So if you have any questions, they will help facilitate that to the various teachers that are, you know, maths or, you know, English, for example. So that works really well, and they are contactable, you know, on email. You can ring them on the phone. So that has been really good. Yep. And if there are any questions or things that the kids are unsure about, they can send an email direct to that teacher, and they're really quick to get back to us. And if there's ever any concerns or they're falling behind on any grades, you'll get a call from the school and they'll talk about that as well. So there is a good feedback loop. So I think that is really good.
Yeah, that's good. And we have had a couple of, you know, like random catch-up chats just to check in and see how both kids are tracking. Also as well, another good thing they have is, you know, something that you find in a lot of private schools is they have like the after-school activities. So, you know, they can go to like chess club or, you know, Minecraft club or whatever. So they do those things virtually as well. So that's a good opportunity to mix with other students too. So you can do that if you want to. And they do teleconference classes and things like that. So if you can log in at that set time, you can. Otherwise, you just watch the replay, which sometimes we do have to do because with the time difference, they're in the middle of the day and we might be traveling.
Probably the biggest thing is it's enabled us to do this lap. I mean, if we didn't have this option, we were very limited really on alternatives that sort of tick the boxes for us. So this has really made what we're doing possible for life on the road. So obviously that's a big tick for us. And
Australian Christian College does have schools in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Tasmania, did I say Queensland?
No.
And Queensland. So they're all over Australia. Again, you would have to check specifically within your state, you know, which ones have the distance learning education option, because I'm not sure if they all do, so that's something you'd have to check out. But we'll drop the website below. There is also videos on their website as well, just showing you what to expect, you know, per child, whether it's primary or upper high school, you know, what they can expect in a typical weekday and so on, and how it all works.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pros really. I can't think of, you know, too many negatives, but I think we will touch on those now. It's probably the biggest thing is just the adjustment for the kids. I think the first couple of weeks were quite stressful, and the main anxiety is around the internet connection, I think, for us, where we've had a dropout and we've been camping off grid and there's been tall trees around. That is a bit of a negative with the Starlink. So if you've got a clear view to the sky, most of the time you're good. But, you know, often if you're in the bush and you've got trees, you'll have intermittent internet. That can cause havoc, and we found that with NAPLAN it was a nightmare, that because we had lots of dropouts and it was creating a bit of extra anxiety for the kids. So I guess the learning for us is if we know something like that is coming in the future, we'll make sure that we have somewhere that's nice and open to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, yeah, we didn't expect that we had to log on at that set time.
There have been times where we've had to like literally be in transit
and pull over on the side of the road
because there has been like a discussion with a teacher or something like that. But again, a lot of those were early teething issues when we weren't really sure how it all worked and we were just sort of finding our feet. Just another thing to cover off, probably falls in the challenge category. It's just more how you make your working space kind of practical for homeschooling. So we're in a caravan, which already is a confined space. We have to kind of make that work. So this is a JB Gator X caravan. It's 18 foot. We've got an east-west bed. We've got a dining area in the middle, and then we've got our sort of bunks and things in the rear of the van. So on occasions, they'll both be sitting on that table doing their homeschooling, and other times we kind of separate them. So it really depends. Sometimes they just don't want to be in each other's jam and they need their own space. So that's just something you have to manage. But, you know, generally I'll be outside. You know, we've got our awning up at the minute, so that's an option as well.
But it's weather depending, guys. We have had times where it has literally been torrential or freezing cold, and we've all been in the van trying to do stuff while the kids have also been doing schooling.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're looking at a caravan with the intention of also doing homeschooling, just factor in days like that or times like that you've got enough space for the kids to do their schooling, and they've also got books and pens and stuff like that on the table, and they've still got space to do what they need to do, because that was something that we thought about when we looked at this van.
Definitely.
How that would actually work.
It's definitely those days where it's pouring down with rain though, or really cold though, that becomes a bit more of a challenge because you're all in that confined area. But yeah, just give yourself a bit of personal space.
But yeah, it's just something to think about, you know, if you're just starting the journey like we were 6 months ago and you're looking at what options may or may not work for you, just make sure you think about that. It's an important consideration.
Yeah, I think a caravan would be the way to go, you know, if we could recommend anything, just because you've got that kind of fixed structure, you know you've got more space inside and generally going to have that dining area, but yeah, somewhere stable for them to be able to sit, power their devices, and you know, probably some noise cancelling headphones. Be invest in those as well,
headphones.
because you know, especially if you're in a confined area, you want to kind of block out that noise. So they've both got some good block out headphones. So yeah, we're essentially 4 months into the distance learning process, and we've been on the road for 6 months. So we'll come back in a year and we'll recap our whole trip and how it's all gone. But you know, this is kind of the first 4 months of our experience, and it's definitely got easier and easier each week. You know, if you decide to do this, you're going to have to work out what flow works for your family. Like, are you going to have a similar routine to back home, where you know, perhaps the kids are up early, they're straight into their schooling, and then you have the afternoon to do stuff, or do you want to have a bit more flexibility? We've kind of gone with the latter, mainly because a lot of the time we're doing day trips, or we're going to places and we might have to be there at a certain time, or you know, the weather might be bad in the afternoon and we want to get out early in the morning. So we are quite flexible with the hours the kids do their schooling, but as long as they are dedicating the time they need to do it properly.
I just want to refer back to, you know, the weekly schedule. You know, we will try on a Monday to do a few classes, and then that then takes off that pressure to then be, you know, doing a couple of classes the rest of the days if we know we're going to be travelling or that sort of thing. And the kids know that they need to do their schoolwork every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess it depends on your kids.
Depends how self-motivated your kids are, I think. Like, we know with Izzy, she's quite routine, so she'll just get up and do her thing, whereas Mac, sometimes we have to give a bit more of a nudge to be like checking in with him and making sure he's doing things, you know, and checking all his emails and that kind of stuff. There can be at times a bit of information overload, because you know, the kids get emails, we get copy of all the emails. So particularly at the start of a term, like you can get like 8 to 10 emails a day. So sometimes, duplicates, and that can be a bit overwhelming. So like initially when we were kind of getting into the groove, there were a few times we might have missed a catch up because we just missed that email. But again, it's all just teething. The kids know now to make sure they check all their emails in the morning and make sure they haven't missed anything. But you know, I think for us it was just getting into a groove. It wasn't only schooling, but everything for us was different. You know, our lifestyles changed, and you know, we don't really know where we're heading. So you know, it's sort of planning, and everything's in the mix and new. But it's been a fantastic experience. I'll just quickly touch on the teachers themselves, but they all seem really passionate about what they do. They're very accessible, and you know, they're great communicators with the kids. So like, certainly from the Albany perspective, we can't comment on other programs or schools, but they have been amazing. And you know, the kids are definitely, I think it's a good balance for the kids, because they're learning so much on the road, but then they've got that schooling component as well. And the school gets that, like they actually get that they're learning so much in the real world that adds value to what they're doing. Okay, so you've heard from the parents. Now we're going to hear from the kids, how they found the whole experience. Okay, Max, so you're to my right. We'll start with you first. What are some of the things that you have enjoyed about the distance learning?
So you can actually do your classes whenever. So I could wake up and I could just like get onto it straight away, or I could maybe save it, because technically you don't really have a schedule for your classes. So you could do half your classes in a span of 2 days. You could do the rest of them like in another day as well, so 3 days.
So it's flexible?
Yeah, very flexible. you can actually pause the video, and they're not talking at like a fast speed. So you can stop, write down some notes.
Some things that you perhaps don't like?
School in general.
Well, unfortunately, mate, you can't get out of that one. But and obviously you're probably missing your friends as well, right? Yeah. But saying that, with the Starlink, you're in constant contact with your mates back home, so that's pretty good. Max over here is an early riser, so he's the first up every morning.
Well,
So,
no,
yeah.
actually, it's either mum or me, usually.
And what, me and Izzy, the lazy ones?
No, Dad wakes up probably about an hour or 30 minutes after me. Usually, Mum wakes up before me, or I wake up before her, and Izzy's always the last, always. And Mum and Dad always have to bribe her with coffee or toast.
True.
We're getting off topic here.
So moving over to the eldest, the teenager of the household, what are a few things that you perhaps like about the program?
The fact that I can like sleep in and do school whenever I want.
I know, I think Izzy's got my genes. I'm a bit of a sleeper in the morning, so. But yeah, that's good, isn't it? You can get up a little bit later and be flexible. Unless we say you've got to get up and do it sooner because we've got a day trip, but yeah. And how you found the teachers?
Helpful.
If you're unsure about something, there's people you can get in contact with?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you do that?
We send them like emails and things and they respond within like the day or something.
So you've touched on the things that you like. So you like the flexibility and we're going to contact your teachers. Is there anything that you don't like or you miss about normal school?
I do not like how long they are because I have like 30-minute ones and like I write pretty much everything down.
Yeah, because I know like traditional school, Izzy was up late a lot of nights doing homework, Monday to Friday. So it was a very long day for her because they get up to school and do that and come home and then you'd be doing your homework for hours. So I would say definitely there's less, if you consider from that perspective. But yeah, I know, but you do like to write things down to memorize them as well. So I think part of that's just the way that you like to learn, right? Is writing things down. One thing I've observed with the kids, which has been a positive as well, is the ability to kind of pause their learning when they're unsure about a topic and play that back. Tricky subjects like maths or you're doing trigonometry, a tricky concept, you can kind of pause and take that extra time. Of course, the kids still have questions for us as well. So this isn't a get out of jail free for parents, not teaching your kids at all. You still need to help them and support them. You might be wondering, homeschooling, distance learning, you've heard the two, are they different? They are very different. Homeschooling is when the parent is actually teaching their children to a curriculum as a teacher, essentially. There are programs out there that you can do for that. We didn't feel that was right for us because we're not teachers. We want the kids to have the proper curriculum and have all the support available. But yeah, you still need to support your kids doing a distance learning program, but it's just a little bit more structures, a lot more support from the teachers, and it's worked well for us. I think it's been pretty good overall, and we're only 4 months into it. We've still got half the year to go, but it's been good. We've seen a lot. And the kids are learning a hell of a lot on the road, aren't they?
Yes,
as well.
they are.
That's the big thing. I mean, they couldn't have told you where Mount Kosciuszko was, and as you're going to see in a future video, something pretty special. This one, first to hike up. So, so I've been learning a lot.
I was first to hike up and get to the end. I sprinted at the end.
You did.
At the end, she was running like right ahead. Like she was at least a kilometre in front of us the whole time.
I know, on a mission. Yeah, so they've learnt so much about geography, history, animals, the environment. Like it's been amazing, and obviously even visiting the big cities as well. So this is, traveling Australia is not just the structured education that you have to do. You learn a lot as well, just through experiencing new things. All right, you've heard from the kids. If you have any other questions for the kids that we haven't covered, let us know in the comments. We'll ask them for you and come back to you with a response. I guess over to you guys. Finally, is there anything else you'd like us to discuss in the future, or do you have any questions? Just drop it in the comments below. This is one of the topics that raises the most questions from our followers is how the schooling's going. So we're happy to be transparent and let you know, any questions that you have, let us know. We will pick back up our lap content in Victoria. There's still some fantastic camps to come, and in New South Wales as well. It's been an absolute blast. So we can't wait to sharing that part of our lap with you and bringing you on the journey. It's been quite the experience, but yeah, lots to come. Also tips on places we should travel to. Yeah, we're in New South at the moment, but heading further north. So if you know any gems, let us know.
We're trying not to plan too far ahead. So if you've got anything, please drop it in and we'll make that happen.
Obviously, if you're watching this for the first time, we'd love you to get on board as a subscriber and be part of the Perth Wheel Driving Camping family. We really appreciate the support.
And you know, we love comments, guys. You know, if there's anything there that you see that you love, please comment. We know from the analytics, a lot of people watch these on TV. So please, you know, please drop the comments on your phone. We love reading them, or any questions you have about anywhere we stayed, anything we're doing. We love reading them, especially the kids. If there's questions there directed at them, they love seeing their name pop up, don't they? Get very excited.
We do videos every week, so hit that subscribe button and the bell so you'll be the first to notified when a new video is coming your way. See you in the next one. Bye, guys.